rhinometer, what we're going to do is a couple quick tests, left and right side separate. We can overlay the two and see what's going on and see any differences or changes or certainly any obstructions. The only difference with the rhinometer, it's the same unit, same EchoVision system, it's just a different wave tube. This is the rhinometer handpiece. The very first thing we do is calibrate. And that's what this long tube here is for. And this is just calibrating the equipment, making sure basically that it's reading a fixed area all the way down there. But calibration just takes a second. We'll do his left side first. All I'm going to do is take this nose tip, put it up against the outside of his nose. You don't need to jam anything in the nose. You're just going to put light pressure, hold it in place, make sure there's a good acoustic seal. That's the key with rhinometry. There's got to be a perfect seal. If there's air leaking, you're going to get inaccurate, real kind of crazy data. So we want a nice good seal. So I'm going to hold it up here. Just start. I could tell just audibly, I could tell just by listening to it that there's a good seal here. But as I break it away, you guys hear the difference? All right. Now, if you notice on the screen how the lines are kind of down, how they're going to go up high again, and they're going to go down again, it's because he's breathing, which is important. But what I'm going to have you do now, Mike, is just pause breathing. Don't hold your breath. Just stop where you're at. Sorry. You can breathe again. One more time. Just pause. All right.
Wait, like totally stop?
Yeah, totally stop. There you go. All right. I'm going to do it again on his right side. All right. And stop. But just looking at the set of left and right data here, we are seeing a discrepancy. If we look at the solid lines, blue line being his right side, we're seeing left side is they're following the same curve, generally the same shape going up, but the left side's significantly better, really. You're going from above average to below average. And we look at these markers here on the screen as kind of norm values at various anatomical landmarks as we go through the nasal airway. So what we're seeing on his left side is an average to slightly better than normal size if you look as it compares to these three markers. And his right side is a little bit lower. It's on the other end of that curve. But for the most part, I mean, they're both relatively open. There's no glaring obstruction here. If there was a blockage, if he was totally occluded and just completely blocked off on one side, what we would see is just a kind of a decrease in the line. We'd see it either dip all the way down and hit the bottom, or we'd see it kind of go really low and then recover back up. But we'd see something pretty substantial here. When you do see obstruction, the reason why we have 4 graphs available on the rhinometer is to do a pre and post picture on the left and right side, before and after decongestant. So if you see a blockage, you see obstruction, you do the afferent or the nasal decongestant and see what happens. And it's going to help identify the true cause of that blockage. Is it soft tissue inflammation, or is this hard tissue obstruction? So the very last thing I want to do is just get a quick baseline screening, just like we do on a normal patient, on Mike here before we do any of the NORADs, and then we can get up out of our chairs, do some of the hands-on NORADs, and then maybe retest him after, just to get a today before and after picture with the NORAD appliance in place, just looking and seeing what kind of changes we made, or what kind of changes we can make with it. And it is adjustable too, so we can kind of try it in one spot. If it's not good, we can come forward a couple millimeters and try it again. So it is nice that way. So I don't know if you remember seeing me do it, but we'll go through one more time. With the wave tube here, what we're going to do, tongue underneath, you're going to bite your teeth down on those pads, lips fit all the way around, so this whole mouthpiece fits like a snorkel. So Mike, if you can, go ahead and plug your nose. keep closed down on there, and just look straight ahead and just breathe normal in and out through your mouth. Great. Don't move.
Very manly.
Nice job. Plug your nose again for me. And this time, just take a nice breath in. And then slow and smooth, I want you to exhale everything out. You don't have any air left at all. Really push yourself. When you're totally empty, you can't push anymore, just raise your other hand and let me know. Just one long, slow and smooth exhale. Really push. Keep going. Never stop. Great. You see how he raised his hand and I let it go for another few seconds? But in that few seconds, we got a lot of good stuff happening. There's a delay. It's not perfectly real time, meaning when his airway does something, it takes 2 or 3 seconds to reflect that change completely on the screen. So it's important when the patient's saying, hey, I'm out of air, watch the graph, watch that collapse going down, and if you need to, push him for another second or two so you get a good, clean reading. I have some bad news, sir. No. Let's see here. What does this mean? Well, let's start from scratch. Let's start with a baseline.
Yeah.
So where are we at here? What's going on? The very first thing I notice is, we're at 4.2 square centimeters. We see a nice big open airway here. You kind of got the oral cavity, oropharyngeal junction, oropharynx, epiglottis, hypopharynx. Everything is really clear and open here. This is a nice, good airway. Yeah?
Does he have his tonsils out?
Yes.
That'll help. Sometimes when you see a patient, much like one of the pictures you saw today with those 2 giant golf ball sized tonsils almost touching each other, you'll see a huge restriction here, even on a baseline test, because those aren't going to get out of the way. They're just there. But in this case, we're wide open. We're nice and open here. Everything's good. So we've got a 4.2 square centimeter on average, minimum size of 2.27. This is above average. This is a nice airway to start. Now, do you snore? We didn't really do the screening part of this yet, but
I'm just a tired guy.
You're a tired guy.
Busy guy.
Oops, sorry. Okay. Let's compare the two. So now we're going to overlay our baseline and our collapse, and just take a look at where we're at here. And I think it's kind of interesting where, there is some collapsibility. We are seeing some decrease in size. You can see anatomically it's still maintaining its same shape, just on a smaller level. So there is this space here. But we're not getting down to those crazy low minimum values either. We're not getting down to those 0.5, 0.6, 0.7 values. So you're going from a 2.2 to a 1.6. It's not 2. It's not where we ultimately want you to be. I don't think this is screaming at me like it's a terrible, worst airway I've ever seen either. Collapsibility percentage-wise, which is going to be more indicative of just that overall flexibility and collapse in the airway, you're at 58%. An ideal situation, we'd see 70, 75% here. Again, meaning these 2 lines would be closer together. There'll be less flexibility in the tissues. So, could it be better? Sure. Is it a terrible, terrible airway? No.